condition. Now we'll have to put a functionality for clear selection. Now let's go back to VS Code and see how this works. So here on the VS Code, clear selection is a fairly simple operation. So it's not really going to be returning anything. So let's just put it a void here and then come down here and then this dot grid API dot, we are going to be clearing the selection, right? So now we have a function available from the grid API to deselect all the record. We have a function called deselect all, and let the app compile for a moment. Yep, it has compiled, and let's go back to Chrome browser and quickly log into the app and see how it works. Click on the login, in it, students, select it, and clear it. So now you can see I can clear it as well. Can I view? Yes, I can view that as well. Can I delete? Yes, I can delete that. When cancel, nothing happens, and I can do a clear selection. So let's just go back to VS Code, and here at the VS Code, we need to see what is the open method here. Open view form, open. That's this one. You just come here in the temp component, here in the open view form model here. Just in case the user clicks on OK, and then same goes here, right? And also here, when we open a form, we have to create a new instance. We cannot really open the same form. So we need to ensure that the form is reset. So let's just click on equals form dot reset. So that'll ensure that the form is open in add mode with all the fields enabled, and also will be a new form, an empty object essentially. So we will now go back to Chrome and try to see if things are working well or not. Right, so just save this and click on Chrome. Here we have a login page. Let's just quickly go to that page particularly. So you click on one, view student, you can view the record, you can create a selection, and now let's say add student. Yeah. Now let's just add the functionality for add as well. So the moment you click on OK, all I want is this row to be added in the AG grid number of rows. So let's go back to VS Code and write this functionality. So here in the VS Code, so now we're going to be making the open button work. The open essentially opens up a new record, and then upon you enter all the credentials, all the details successfully, it adds the record in your AG grid, right? So before that, we are also going to be making some change in the template of this form, because I'd noticed that placeholders had a similar sort of a value, so everywhere it was the same placeholder displayed on the form. So let's just correct that as well. You see, this has to be country, right? So let's just fix this first. Country, here it's going to be state. Now passport declaration here. Here it's going to be fitness declaration. Down below here we're going to be having a course name. So just correct that as well. Here we're going to be having subjects. So just correct this as well. Now go down. Street address, address to email, postal code. Let's just put this here. All right. So we're done with this. And now let's just correct our PS file. So here, what we're going to have is that the moment a submit button is clicked on the form, we're going to be having a result available here in this callback, right? The line number 180. And that result must be placed in the API response such that new tuple gets created in the grid, right? So let's just fix this. So now in your TS file, we are going to be having a record available in the form, and that record must be placed and entered in the API response available locally in this TS file, right? So let's just code this bit. So firstly, let's capture the newly entered record. This dot that student detail form dot value. So form group has this value property available in the object. The value is essentially a JSON based object that is made available for developer to make use of. So if you read the value, it will basically read all the value in a JSON format, and then I'll show you in the Chrome dev tool in a moment from now, right? So now new record will have the record as is in a JSON structure. So that record must be placed in the API response. Push, and let's just make this. It's a good practice to do it this way, destructure and always provide a new object in case of API responses whenever you're displaying the data in the grid. Since we have since we have pushed a new object in the API response, we also need to ensure that the changes are detected. So in order for that is we need in order for our change to be detected and the new record to be displayed on the AJ grid, we need to make a little more change here. The API response, I'm going to be creating a new object. And it's going to be, so with this, at line number 182, the API response will now have a new object to display. And that'll help you to basically, that'll help the Angular to display a new record in the AJ grid quickly. So let's just save this and see if it compiles successfully, and then we'll go to Chrome browser and see how it works. Here on the Chrome browser, we are on a login page. So let's just log in first. And let's go to the students. And here, let's just add this. So now we have all the placeholders correctly displaying their values. So let's just put a name. Let me put my name, my country. Then we select the date of birth. So I can just select anything here. Let's say this. City is again city where I live in. Let's say, right. So now if you notice that the submit button has become enabled because I've marked all these fields as mandatory. So if you notice, the moment I removed the postal code, the validation on the postal code made this form invalid, as a result of which the submit button becomes disabled. So let me put this pin code here and let me click on submit. And I've placed this debug point here to show you the object that we get in the form and elsewhere, right? So that we get in the form, right? So let me put a student detail form. So here on the student detail form, as I said, it's a form group object. So in this form group object, you can actually see all your controls available here. You can see that it has address to city, country, course date, email, fitness, and all that. And when they are displayed here on the Chrome Dev Tool console, it is basically displayed in an ascending order, like the alphabet with the A would appear first, and the alphabet with the S would Z would appear last, right? So between this, it will be arranged. So like address, and then A, B, C, C for city, and then D for date, and E for email, and so on and so forth, right? So here, if you look at this, it's going to be having a form control object. Inside this form control object, you have a value available here, and you might have noticed that the form in address to, I had given the address to, right? So yeah, you have this value available, and there are some other observable also available that I'll come to a little while later. So same goes with city. If you notice that the value here is Gurgaon, and every other value remains same, and here is the value object. So if you look closely over here, what it essentially does is that it stores all of this value, like address, city, country, course, date, email, and all, and it's basically available as a form of an object. So like if you hover over new record, you would notice that it is exactly available in the manner in which it is to be available, right? Once this is done, now you can see that the entire object is available for you, for a developer to use. We have taken a copy of it and provided that inside the API response, and then now in the API response, it should be available for you to view. So here's a new record which gets created, which got created. Like, let us just look at the view. So you can see all the values that we have entered are available here. The state and country are essentially the same value that you enter in the country and state over here. I've just copied it here and displayed it multiple times, right? You can see that in the template. So let me go back to template and show you that here in the VS Code. And if you look at the template over here, you may notice that state, let me go up. State control, right? And similarly, I had it for country. So after zip, there's a country. So here also you have country dot value. I have not really given any input over here. However, everywhere else I've given the input. You notice this? But then these two places I've just given it for the reference and for our usage, like it so that all the information appears at once. And that's why I've not even highlighted it with gray color, just to show you that you can actually do multiple such things. So that's how we have created one fully functioning form group and a reactive form. Now let me also experiment a little over here. So now you notice that I've given all these validators over here, right? So if you look at this second argument in the form control, you would notice that it's an array, which means I can actually provide multiple validators at once. I can say compose, email, max, min length, and so on and so forth, right? Required, not pattern. And in this case, you can actually write regex, and the Angular would validate your input against it, right? So you can write multiple of those. You can actually write your custom one as well, and we will deep dive into it again after this tutorial is over. And I'm going to be posting a deep dive tutorial on how this reactive form work in Angular. Please provide your comments in the description section below if you want me to compare, or if you want me to, right? I'll give it a go, and I'll try to deep dive on those, right? So, but that'll come a little while later. Meanwhile, you can always subscribe to my channel and keep your eyes peeled off for the new upcoming excellent tutorials that I'll post along the way. So with that, I think that's pretty much it about the basics of reactive form. Reactive form can do much more and a lot more comprehensive and very complex tasks that we will discuss whenever I post a particular video about a tutorial about just reactive form. In that, we will touch upon all the basic and all the aspects of reactive form as much as we can, right? So keep your eyes peeled off. And with that, I'll just finish up here. The next tutorial, I'm going to be talking about signals. I'm going to be talking about signals, RxJS, and reactive programming in Angular particularly, and in JavaScript as well, a little bit into that. With that, thank you very much for listening up until now, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.